All right, hell yeah. So this is a powerful technique to get to an eddy. This is going to involve rotation and then jumping to a quadrant. Hell yeah. One of the kayakers has been using that term for tutorials, and it's a really good term for R1 is, hey, I'm going to jump, especially this back tube. If you've never pried your way into an eddy from the back of the boat, it's the fastest way. And so hell yeah. And so we're going to talk about what portions. So anyway, so hell yeah. Right now I know I got kicked out of the wave, and what I want to do is rotate the boat. And the fastest way to get one way or the other is to rotate when you are on the upstream side. So as I'm rotating this boat, I'm on the upstream side. And what that does is it prevents the boat from opening up like a sail. If I was to be on this tube, the boat would be angled and I'd be catching all that current. So hell yeah. But this is kind of a 1-2 setup. So I did rotate. Now this is going to continue to rotate, and it's just going to spin down this eddy. So I'm going to jump to the other side and counter this rotation with this stroke right here. And this is perfect because now I'm kind of sliced in, and there could be some benefit to being on this downstream tube now that I have some momentum. The other thing that's crucial to R1 is to, get all this momentum in the forward direction. So, hey, you could say that this portion of the boat's still in that wave train, but since my weight is so close to this new front of the boat, this new bow, hell yeah, that's just going to plow its way into this eddy. And so, hell yeah, and so it does. And so that's kind of the technique that we're going to be looking at. Okay, hell yeah, so the first fundamental is just to rotate and be on that upstream tube. We're going to get the boat rotating, and then we're going to stop that rotation. And then, fundamentally, we're going to be leaning into that direction that motion is going. And this is probably the strongest and fastest way to get into this eddy, is just because we're starting this with a backstroke. And when we jump to the other side, we're also using a backward paddle stroke. And this is going to be the easiest to lean back onto this portion of the boat. It's very difficult if you're trying to jump to the bow to actually get any weight on the bow. But when you're just leaning back, you can put all of your weight basically to the end fringe of that boat. And that's just going to be so crucial for releasing all of this portion of the boat and getting onto this quadrant. But I haven't tested it for this just makes sense to rotate that first rotation on the upstream tube. And it just happens that when you counter it, you're going to be on that downstream tube. But man, does it just lock in. And so hell yeah. And the other thing about, actually, there is kind of one more. This downstream tube, sometimes you want to be on it because when you're on this downstream tube and you've caught the eddy, this is going to allow you glide all the way in. If I jump to the upstream tube, I'm just going to hook in place. So there's a chance you could do a few different things with this. You could do this move, lock it in, and then I could jump to this side right here. Even just jumping to this tube is going to cause the boat to spin because we're in the eddy. You know what I mean? So that's what I have found with if I want to glide through an eddy, I do want to be on that downstream. And yeah, so that's kind of interesting. So hell yeah. But I think I'm going to end it there. Obviously there's a lot of dynamics involved when you reach eddy current. Sometimes the current could be strong enough where it's pushing upstream this way. And so from that perspective, I am on, opposing that current, and it's not catching like a sail. So it is surfing across, you know what I mean? But I'm on this downstream tube. This current is trying to take me downstream, but we are jumping to this quadrant, and that's releasing a ton of the boat. So that's kind of the central point as well, is to jump onto this quadrant and have your weight be in the front, driving that inertia. I think this is, if you can use this to your advantage, get some momentum across a wave train, and then get your body towards the front of the boat. And being backwards, like we've said, that's going to be the fastest and the most effective. All right, hell yeah.